Hey guys. Today we gonna see a movie with unexpected ending. I hope you enjoy it. And don't forget to subscribe. After catching his wife Amy having an affair with their friend Ted, mystery writer Mort Rainey retreats to his cabin at Tashmore Lake in upstate New York, while Amy stays in their marital home. 6 months later, Mort, depressed and suffering from writer's block, has delayed finalizing the divorce. One day, a man named John Shooter arrives at the cabin and accuses Mort of plagiarizing his short story, Sowing Season. Upon reading Shooter's manuscript, Mort discovers it is virtually identical to his own story, Secret Window, except for the ending. The following day, Mort, who once plagiarized another author's story, tells Shooter that his story was published in a mystery magazine 2 years before Shooter's, invalidating his plagiarism claim. Shooter demands proof and warns Mort against contacting the police. That night, Mort's dog, Chico, is found dead outside the cabin, along with a note from Shooter giving Mort 3 days to provide proof. Mort reports the incident to Sheriff Newsom. Mort drives to his and Amy's house intending to retrieve a copy of the magazine but leaves because Ted and Amy are there. Mort instead hires private investigator Ken Karsh, who stakes out the cabin and speaks to Tom Greenleaf, a local resident who may have seen Shooter and Mort talking together. At the cabin, Shooter appears and demands that Mort revise his story's ending to Shooter's version, where the protagonist kills his wife. When an arson fire destroys Amy and Mort's house, and presumably the magazine, Mort reveals to the police that he has an enemy. Karsh tells Mort that he suspects Shooter has threatened Greenleaf after Greenleaf claimed he never saw Mort and Shooter talking together. Mort and Karsh agree to confront Shooter but first choose to meet up with Greenleaf at the local diner the next morning. Arriving late, Mort discovers that neither Karsh nor Greenleaf showed up at the diner. On his way back, Mort encounters Ted at a gas station, where Ted demands Mort sign the divorce papers. Believing Shooter is in Ted's employ, Mort refuses, taunts Ted, and leaves. Later, Shooter summons Mort to a meeting place. When he arrives, Mort finds Karsh and Greenleaf dead inside Greenleaf's truck and passes out at the site. When he recovers, Shooter tells Mort he killed the 2 men because they had interfered in his business, and warns Mort he has deliberately implicated him in the 2 men's murders, having used Mort's axe and screwdriver as the murder weapons, and implies Mort should dispose of the bodies. Mort agrees to meet Shooter at his cabin to show him the magazine containing his story, which is supposed to arrive that day, having been sent overnight by his literary agent. Mort later retrieves his tools and then pushes Greenleaf's truck with both bodies still in it off a steep cliff into a water-filled quarry where it sinks. Mort retrieves the package containing the magazine from the post office but finds that it has already been opened with the pages containing his story ripped out. At Mort's cabin, Mort sees Shooter's hat and puts it on and begins speaking to himself, trying to make sense of the events. Frustrated and in denial, Mort throws an object at the wall and is surprised to see a growing crack fracture the cabin in half. Looking in the mirror, he's startled to see the back of his head reflected instead. Mort realizes that Shooter is a figment of his imagination, a character brought to life through Mort's undetected dissociative identity disorder, unwittingly created to cope and carry out malevolent tasks that Mort cannot do, like killing Chico, Greenleaf and Karsh, as well as burning down their home. That persona now takes full control of Mort. Amy arrives at the cabin, finding it ransacked and sees the word Shooter carved repeatedly on the walls and furniture. Mort appears, speaking and acting as Shooter, wearing his hat. Amy realizes the name Shooter represents Mort's desire to shoot her. He chases Amy and stabs her in the ankle. Ted, looking for Amy, arrives and is ambushed by Mort, who smashes his face with a shovel. Amy watches helplessly as Mort bludgeons Ted with the shovel, while reciting the ending of Sowing Season. He then murders Amy off-screen. Months later, Mort has recovered from his writer's block and his passion for life returns. He is feared and shunned in town because of the rumors about the missing people associated with him. Sheriff Newsom arrives and tells Mort that he is the prime suspect in the supposed murders. He warns him that the bodies will eventually be found and he will be caught, then says he is no longer welcome in town. Mort passively dismisses the threat and tells Newsom that the ending to his new story is perfect. It is implied that Amy and Ted's bodies are buried under the corn growing in Mort's garden, allowing Mort to slowly destroy any evidence of their murders. In an alternative ending cut for home media, their bodies are shown under the earth.
Please subscribe for more movie